if the chat is I use Restream and Ecamm Live, and I'm trying to get the chats open, but I don't know if they're working. So that's all right. This is meant to be fun. Where I put like lots of gifs and stupid things like that. So, and yeah, good morning. I've actually, hang on, let me set a timer so that I don't waffle on for too long, because I waffle too long. Clearly very organised today. Very, very organised. Let's put a timer for 1 hour, 57 minutes. That's fine. Okay. Hi. I don't know if there's anybody around. I'm just going to walk through, if no one is around, maybe I should just talk about some news. And I don't know. I woke up this morning sitting there annoyed with science, as you do. Sitting there thinking, why do scientists think they're better than us? Because, you know, artists still need to understand measurement and form and, you know, all that stuff. Like, and musicians need to understand, like, it's inherently mathematical. It's like, since when did the creative arts and science become like opposing forces? It's weird. Anyway, I don't know why. I just, whatever. I just had that thought. And for some reason I woke up legit angry, which is really weird. So I have accidentally lost my scenes, so I'm trying to change over. But I might go through some news or something. I don't know. Is anybody around? Here's Restream. Hang on. Live, and I'm trying to get the chats open, but I don't know if they're working. Oh, there's a delay. Okay. Well, that seems weird because we're... All right, there's one person watching and that's me. Well, that takes the pressure off, I guess. Okay. There is nothing... This reminds me... This is going to tell you a really bad story. Streaming on video when you're not comfortable with it and not popular and don't have a lot going on. Do you know what it reminds me of? I have a lot of like really fucked up stories. They're kind of funny. My 11th birthday party. So I grew up in a fairly dodgy situation. My dad, I was a single dad, and he was quite a significant drinker. And I didn't know that I was poor and that my single dad and you know, people like knew about my life, and I didn't know that. But anyway, so what I did was I was just a normal kid, and I sent like invitations, and I wanted to have a sleepover. So sleepover, horror movies, and all that sort of stuff. And I planned stuff, and I, you know, I was excited. This is really sad. But basically, I planned it, and then nobody turned up to my birthday because I obviously, as an adult and parent, I understand that single dad with a drinking problem who tends to drag mates around at midnight is not the best of circumstances, but you know, so I wouldn't put my kids in that position either. But as a kid, I lived in this, you know, when you're a kid, you live in this bubble of ignorance where you actually don't understand what's going on around you. And I thought no one liked me and no one turned up to my party. So basically I sat there and my dad and his girlfriend and yeah, anyway, that's how this feels. It feels like nobody likes me. Not that it's Friday morning and everyone's working and have stuff to do. It's all about me. It's all personal. And also the fact that it's literally only me and Canada who are in the position to watch this, and even then they're busy. So it's funny. I don't take it personally. Again, the idea of this coffee with Taya thing is so that I get comfortable with just talking to people who aren't there and who are, you know, talking to the camera, because I'm actually doing this. I treat myself as a crash test dummy for all of this stuff. And for 20 years, well, not 20 years, 10 years, I've been making excuse after excuse after excuse about YouTube. Sorry, Paul, this annoys you, doesn't it, when I don't actually drink? Hang on. Excuse after excuse, telling clients that they need to do video, making video for clients, telling them all the things they need to do, meanwhile avoiding it all myself, making it sound easy, right? And that's what I'm doing. I also have a lot to say, and I just, this seems like the medium to do it. So be patient with me. I say this every time, but I'd really love the fact that people are giving me feedback on some of these videos, but I do need to make it clear. I've been doing this for 3 weeks. Theoretically, I know what you're supposed to do. I have all the tech, I have all the setup, but it's actually more, this is all psychological. It's all a psychological thing. It's all getting over my own stuff, and I'm just going to move this window up so that I'm not looking down at myself all the time and I'm looking forward. There we go, that's better. So, yeah, I don't know if chats are coming through because it's either no chats or it's not working. If anyone is watching, can you put a chat? Because I don't know. Hang on. God, I sound like a loser. Okay. Anyway, so I might just go through the news because a few things are happening this week. And, I was talking about how this is my, like you'll notice that I don't put makeup on, I don't do my hair, I don't like put anything other than it's not even a high quality webcam. It's actually just a webcam that I've got that came with my really nice monitor. And it really is not about, at this point, it's not about trying to get this right. It's about it's me playing a psychological game with myself so that this becomes second nature, because I do want to start creating educational content. And you may notice that I do get better and a little bit more confident every time. It's such a massive learning curve. Like, that's the thing, is that people don't realize what just a technical learning curve this is. And I've been using, I know how to, live stream, in terms of live streaming and cutting to camera, these are skills that people take for granted, but they don't realize that I've actually got, it's like learning to drive again, where you got to move the clutch and change gears and look over there and take it all in. And when you first start, there's a lot of things to do. And it's pretty crazy. So, and there is a reason why I only have an automatic car license, because lots and lots of moving parts. So I'm testing, I'm changing. I've also scrapped Digipolitik as a project. I'm just making it personal brand, just because I end up tinkering, and that's the one asset that I've got. So I can talk about, so now I'm broadening it. Obviously I still want to talk about digital and politics, because that's what I do, but it opens it up to a bit more educational content, marketing content, advice, talking about some platforms. I want to do a review of HubSpot CMS, so there's a few things, and Paul has asked for a couple of educational videos to show other people, because I've got some specific positions on things that are different to what other people think. So I've chatted too long again. And I also am aware that I need to stop putting myself down in videos. So I watch these back like twice, 3 times, and I get better every time. I need to stop saying that. So again, it's just becoming aware of this stuff. So the live stream puts me in my most uncomfortable, my least articulate, and my most terrified, nervous state. So this is me. This is personal challenge. If you find something, if you're interested in it and you want to ask me questions, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. So, but I hope to get better. And this is 10 minutes of me talking shit. And so no comments are coming through. But it looks like no one's watching. So I didn't like you anyway. I don't care. I'm not worried. I actually just want to know that it's working because I've been playing with the tech so that when I do actually do proper events, when I get over that 1,000 followers threshold on YouTube, I can start doing super chats and raising money and for causes that I believe in, and doing all that stuff. So I'm taking that sort of under 1,000 opportunity to just get better, and also be able to pass this on to clients because I need to stay current with my consulting as well. So, and I can't exactly be saying you should be doing video, you should be doing live streams, you should be doing this, knowing full well how hard it is and how vulnerable it is to be on camera. One day I'll show you the first video that I tried to film. I actually burst into tears. I actually picked a fight we set up the studio and I picked a fight with Paul and I burst into tears because I was so scared. So, I'm coming leaps and bounds. This is, yeah. So forgive me for waffling because I do waffle when I'm anxious and nervous. But I hope that it's mostly endearing and that you will stick around. I'm getting better. But I want to show some stuff because this video is going to be up and recorded anyway. So here you go. So what I'm looking to do, what am I doing? So some cool stuff. This is, okay. I have to start with this one. Let me get this up. No. Oh, for fuck's sake. Not that one. Share. Oh, you motherfucker. Yep, let's go back to standard. You stupid fucking cunt. See? It's just... All right. This is what I wanted to show you. It's all... I spent 45 minutes setting this fucking thing up, and then you click away, and guess what happens? Fucks up. It was all beautiful. Anyway, whatever. So, for those that are into tech and the Internet of Things, there's a butt plug hacker talks security and why he hacked a butt plug. So apparently butt plugs are hooked up to the internet now. That's news to me. But this is the name of this video. Again, I'll share a raindrop with the articles that I talk about. I just want to just go through stuff. I don't really have a position on this, except the fact that it's very fucking weird. But there is a serious point, which is the fact that people are setting up these smart homes and smart devices, and also medical devices, glucose monitoring, all that sort of stuff, and they're hackable. That's the overall point. And I love the fact that they say real penetration testing. That's so stupid. Anyway. So yes. So basically this is an interview with a guy who hacked into butt plugs. Because you can. Because you can. What else have we got? Now, some of this is a little bit more boring, but one thing that I'm finding interesting about Instagram. Hang on, let me move this over. Let me just switch me windows. Switch me windows. No, we want it. Other here. No, we don't. Let me switch. Hang on. Bear with me. Unlock that. There we go. I'm on the right. Okay. So, what I'm finding it interesting with Instagram at the moment, because it seems to me like because Instagram is they're big, but they're smaller than Facebook, so they've got a smaller user base. And if you're a UX, what you would do is take a sample size of customers and start testing various things. And I find it interesting that they're using Instagram to sort of A/B test a bunch of these psychological concepts, but also they're kind of performing experiments out in the open, which, like not being able to, for people to be able to see your likes in Australia, those sorts of things. But they're also trying to they're adding tools for users to flag false information. So I find that interesting of Instagram of all places, because it seems to me like Facebook are trying different ways of dealing with fake news through Instagram. I mean, yes, it spreads through Instagram, but it's just interesting to see what they're learning, that they're learning in front of us, and it'd be interesting to see what they actually do and whether this can be abused. I mean, because again, the problem with a lot of this stuff is not so much the functionality. It's quite easy to actually create functionality that says, hey, this might be fake, flag fake news, this is flagged as fake news, this is disputed. There's been studies, there's actually a research study that showed that the more that if something was shown as disputed, people were more, I can't remember, there was a study that said that people were less likely to share it if it showed that if it was in dispute. Now for that I can see how that could actually be gamed, which is that if you're a competitor, like for example, your average blogger blogging for your business, and someone flags that as disputed, we get all of this stuff, all these dirty tactics all the time with AdWords, where they go out and your competitors will go and click on all of your ads and exhaust your allocation for the day, and you run out of budget, and that you end up costing more. So it's filthy, and that's the thing that they've got to overcome. It's not so much the tech, it's not the fact that they can do it, it's the fact that it can be gamed and abused. So this just seems like another mechanism for, let's say the woke police decide to start mass reporting stuff that is on, I don't want to use Breitbart because they're not necessarily reliable, but, so there is an ideological war going on with media organisations, and it just seems to me that this could easily just be another weapon that's used for ideology and for silencing. That said, it would be far better than banning. So if you can see, if you know that people are going to be using this in a way that, let's say Colette post an article and the woke police go mass dispute it, even if it's just an innocuous piece. I'm not talking about anything that's political necessarily. That could then affect their ability to share. It could affect their appearance in the algorithm. So I think that's where it becomes open to abuse, is when with all of these ideological forces that we're talking about, they get highly mobilized. But I suppose it's maybe a better solution than the current just banning of accounts and takedowns. So I hope that they solve it. Anyway, so I find that interesting. I don't know whether you do. Butt plug hacker, that was way better. What have we got here? YouTube. So this is a good one. YouTube blocking copyright trolls from swiping creators' revenue. This is a good thing. So it's what they're trying. I think what we can say is that the tech companies are trying. They're trying A/B testing a lot of different stuff, probably A, B, C, D, E, F, G testing, so many different scenarios and complexities. And it's not about the test, it's about whether the feature is abused. And this is another one where you can put a copyright claim in, and it like, let's say I have a song come on, let's say I've got a song as a ringtone, and during this live stream the ringtone plays in my feed, and let's assume I'm monetizing. That means then a copyright claim, because a few seconds of content. So, but under copyright, you've got fair use, and you've got, in the music industry, you're able to use samples and those sorts of things. So this is just an extension of that. Sorry, I just knocked my mic. So this is a really good. This is good because it replicates. I imagine that YouTube's volume of fair use, challenging of copyright is quite substantial, because yeah, it's reasonable for people to use samples. So yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's good. I don't know. I brain farted. I need more coffee. Does anyone have a question? No, I'm talking to the wilderness. You know what's awesome? I'm just going to put this video up unedited and deal with my childhood trauma from no one showing up to my party. I'm fine. I'm just going to go away and cry. Not really. I don't care. If anything, it's mostly just because I don't have anything to say at the moment. Like, because I just thought, oh yeah, let's just go through. Because yeah, I thought I'd get some questions, but whatever. Where am I? 2 people watching. Does anyone have a question at all? Fuckers. Just letting me suffer. Too funny. Okay, so fucking hell. All right, sorry, David. I look. Okay, so David is posting on my personal Facebook account, and so those don't come through. All right. So look at that. So move to my page. Well, because I can't see them. Fuck. Okay, and I don't get notified. See, this is why it's fun, because you can learn from my mistakes. Flickerluya says, see, this is what I want to be able to do. Look, see, I can drag that comment and go, yay, look, I saw something about leaked Google Docs recently. Yeah, I have seen that in the news, but I haven't read it yet. I assume that it's something to do with the way that I use Google Docs. I imagine that it's something to do with when you share a link, you can put it to anyone with the link, and there's probably a script that randomly generates URLs and just searches. That's what I imagine it would be. But anyway, let's go back to the news. Another former employee of Google. Yeah. I need to read about it. Send me the link. The fucking scene's locked. I need to not lock these things. Hang on. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, David. So I need to not stream from my personal Facebook account because those don't come through. That's why I look like an idiot. Okay. Yeah, I'd be interested to know what that is. Because, yeah, everyone's having a bit of problems, a bit of stuff at the moment. The thing is, I think, let me just gather my thoughts. This stuff's complicated, right? And also, having worked with tech companies before, even just as an agency, what's very interesting is that we assume that they are somehow not dealing with legacy tech as well. So the surprising thing, like Facebook is eBay's 25 years old. Google is pretty close to that, right? I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but having worked with like banks and eBay and, a bunch of other places, right? They're dealing with old tech as well, and old processes and crap processes. So the problem is that we expect too much, right? We expect too much of them. I'm turning that light off because it actually just keeps fucking up. So I think we actually expect way too much of tech and not assume that when you're talking about a company at the scale of something like Facebook or eBay or Amazon or Google, they're constantly having to update their tech, and that means that there's legacy, and that means that they're no better than a bank IT wise, right? And I think that that's the thing. They're no better than any other big corporation that has to deal with huge amounts of tech. And so the change management and those sorts of things are huge. So I need to read that article. I went on a tangent. I know. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'll read that one and I'll talk about that one separately, maybe next week or something. I don't know. I'll see if it's interesting to me. The rule of thumb generally is it's really honestly it's really unfortunate that I have to give this advice, because I have always given this advice, which is always assume that your documents are going to be made public. But the problem is that now, this is one of the inherent problems with the cloud, is that if you are sitting on something like Amazon or Google or on 365 or anything like that, this is why cybersecurity is a massive, the best career path to be going down right now. It is a constant concern. But one thing that you need to be aware of is that if you put your documents, say, on a US Amazon server, you are then privy and subject to things like the Patriot Act, which means that the NSA can, in Australia, if you're an Australian business, the NSA can subpoena your documents. I mean, Australian government can too, but they've got, obviously they can do that. But these are extraordinarily huge, complex issues, and a lot of people are just dealing with legacy tech. It's crazy. Here's a jib jab. That was a segue, because that just... Oh, this was the one that got me. Get it right, Tad? Which is this thing. Have you ever thought Facebook might be listening? We knew they were. I knew they were anyway. I thought they were listening on... they're just sort of listening for keywords and transcription. They're not actually transcribing. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. And basically said, well, what they're doing is they're sort of gathering aggregate data. And I think that that's still the case. I think that even with this stuff, with transcribing messenger clips, I don't think it is necessarily to document an individual person's chat. What it is to train the voice recognition software to recognize accents and, all of those sorts of things. And slang and colloquialisms and all of that sort of stuff. So what they're trying to do is train their voice recognition software to do a better job. The reason that Siri is not as good as Google is because Apple have stopped this. So that's where the dilemma is in tech, where we want voice recognition to be better, especially female voices. So if you read a book by Caroline, it's behind me, Invisible Women, it talks about this. There's a chapter on it about how women were left out of voice recognition technology. And that's why if you're a female and you have a female voice or a higher pitched voice, you struggle more with voice. I thought it was my Australian accent or that I was speaking too fast, but it turns out that it's just the pitch of my voice. Men have better success with voice recognition. So there's that. But if you want to teach it, you need a data set. You need to be able to... See, this is the thing. It's like, well, what do we want? Do we want reliable voice recognition software? If we want reliable voice recognition software, we need people to opt in. I mean, I'd be quite happy to opt in and have them listen to my conversations, because I've got nothing to hide and I speak fast, and I'd be a very good test for an AI. But Facebook have a massive user base of people who can actually inform that tech. Now, again, they're using it for ads as well. Well, let's not be naive. Google, they're using it for ad targeting as well, but it's the same technology that is fed back into voice recognition. So on one hand, I have a dilemma, because on one hand you want machines to be learning from a wide range of people, and you can't get a wider range of people than Facebook users, because if anything, there's but users need to know about it, and users need to opt in, and I think but they need to be clear that they're opting in. And that's where I think, because I'd be quite happy to opt in to do that in exchange for no ads. So an ad-free experience, you listen to my conversations and I contribute to research, right? There's ways to do this that aren't douchey and aren't unethical. But yes, it is. And for me, it really is. I see it from both sides, which is that on one hand, we've got stupid voice recognition software that doesn't have a big enough data set and to be able to transcribe audio, and ultimately that is good for accessibility. It's good for people with disabilities who are relying on voice to text. It's good for people, it's good for transcription engines, it's good for closed captioning and AI taking part in that. That's ultimately a good thing. But the people who are participating in training that need to know that they're doing that. And that's where I think it becomes a bit of an issue. So, but again, people don't generally sign. Your average person, and this is where my dilemma lies, is your average person wouldn't necessarily volunteer for this either. So the people that would volunteer for a study like this are people who speak clearly and speak succinctly and speak with correct English. So there's something to be said for that. There's an argument. I don't know, but I still think it's a shitty thing to do. And it's more about how they store it, whether they identify it. I don't care if anyone hears my conversations. It doesn't bother me, but unless it flags when I'm making a joke and then the police knock on my door, then that's a problem. But otherwise, it's I have no problem with that stuff. I really don't. So yeah, again, I think this isn't a problem of. I think this is a problem of arrogance with tech companies and them not necessarily. Okay. It's a cultural problem. I don't think that what they're doing is necessarily intended to be evil. They're engineers. It's engineers, right? It's because engineers rule the world, and these guys think that they're above the law. There's this disruption culture where they can just do what they want, and everyone will just fall in line with what the engineer wants. From agency, where the tech guy, holds everyone else hostage, right up to Amazon and Facebook, where the engineers rule the world and they just do what they want. That's not how the world works, right? Yeah, that is, sorry, that is actually very creepy. Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so it's actually, I honestly, you know what? It's creepy shit, but I don't think that it's necessarily intended to be evil. I think what it is just if you work with software engineers, they're arrogant as shit. They're arrogant. They think that they don't understand that there's laws and processes and other people and other ways of seeing the world. This comes back to my dream about how arrogant engineers and scientists tend to be, thinking that they have all of the knowledge about all of the things. And it's like, well, no, art and these things have value as well. And this is exactly back to what I was talking about when I started, which was, those people, they made fun of us with our humanities degrees and our arts degrees. And 5 years ago, I was sitting in a room saying, you guys can't do this with data. You're going to get into trouble. You can't behave this way. It's not a matter of just throwing scooters and drivers, or disruption for disruption's sake. You need to work within the bounds of the law and ethics and what's right. And this transcription thing is precisely that. I think it is a symptom of that problem. I don't think it's because they want to listen and jerk off to your conversations or do anything necessarily that evil. What I think is that they're arrogant and that they think that, well, we've got a gap, we need reliable voice recognition technology. Look, we have access to all of this data. Oh, well, they've given us access to their microphone and given us explicit permission because they hit one button. So we're fine. We got a new data set. Let's just use it. I think that it literally was that. It's a forgiveness, not permission attitude. And unfortunately, we live in a society where ethics and laws and process and privacy and those things matter. And that's where I think we're seeing a lot of the struggles at the moment, where these engineers think that they think they're gods, and they're not. And a little bit of humility on Facebook's part, a little bit of humility on Twitter's part, that they don't have all of the answers, and that they have built cultures that aren't necessarily good for society. They build tech that's good for society, but they have built workplace cultures that, affirm that disrupt and do what we want and act like school children culture. No, that's not how it works. Governments, you still got to be ethical. Anyway, so I went on a bit of a rant there, and I know, again, this unscripted stuff is so, I don't know how good it comes out. So this is interesting. So I think it's important to say that, yes, they're admitting this. Oh, we caught them. But from the other side, it's solving another problem that other people are complaining about, which is the bias in these algorithms and the bias in tech. So if you want to fix bias, you need a large data set. The largest data sets in the world are Facebook and Google and Amazon data. So we need to just figure out which thing we want the most. Because I'll tell you now, the reason Apple's voice recognition is not as good or smart is because Apple don't do this. They do, but not to the extent that Google and Facebook do. So, we just got to decide what we want and what the line is. So, yeah. Another interesting one that I found, and I saw this on, which was Tumblr. Right? Tumblr was sold to Verizon Wireless. I think, was it Verizon? Yeah. Yeah. So Tumblr was sold for $1.1 billion to Verizon a few years ago, right? And WordPress have just bought Tumblr for tiniest of fractions. I think people are saying somewhere between $3 and $10 million. I don't know what the exact number is. And it's quite funny because Yahoo is just, and Tumblr is a fucking, I hope it dies. It's breeding ground for all of the crap that we've got now. But it's an interesting acquisition for WordPress. Obviously, I'm a fan of WordPress. So it's an interesting acquisition for them because I can see that they've always struggled with that social layer on WordPress.com, trying to sort of, you've got reblog features and those sorts of things, but that true sort of hybrid social network between sort of Twitter and WordPress, Tumblr has always sat in the middle of that. So it would be very interesting to see what functionality. I have a feeling that at some point they're going to roll it in to WordPress.com. I think that's going to be the thing. And they've banned. What's funny is that the history of Tumblr was that it was predominantly. These don't go together, but in Tumblr land they do. Fandoms, teenage fandoms, and porn. Yeah. Then they banned porn, and now they're worth nothing. Porn drives the internet, by the way. Every major innovation that's ever happened with the internet has been driven by porn. Like, the reason we have fast internet connections, it's not because people want to watch cat videos. It's because they want high def porn. It's so interesting to see the history of porn on the internet. That said, I don't agree with it, but my personal views on porn don't mean that I can't, acknowledge the role in the industry. So anyway, any other questions? I'm bored. I didn't do enough. Nah, I'm bored. I'm gonna go early. This is terrible. I'm gonna go do some static videos, some educational videos about topics I want to talk about that are a bit more scripted. This one was just coffee and practice as usual. So, okay. Bye. Bye.